It was just another Monday morning in Tokyo. Trains were packed, the platforms crowded, the rush hour routine in full swing. But on 5 different trains, something was leaking. A strange liquid, wrapped in newspaper, dripping onto the floor. Passengers began coughing, then choking. Some collapsed where they stood. By the time it was over, 13 people were dead, over 5,000 were injured, and Japan was in shock. This was a terrorist attack. Not by a foreign enemy, but by a religious cult. A cult that believed the world was ending, and they were chosen to bring it about. This is the story of Aum Shinrikyo, one of Japan's deadliest cults. And remember, your discretion is advised. His name was Shoko Asahara. Born nearly blind in 1955, he studied acupuncture and yoga, eventually opening his own spiritual healing center in Japan. But his ambitions were far greater. He claimed he could levitate, that he could read minds, that he had returned as Christ, Buddha, and Shiva, combined into one. By 1987, he founded a group called Aum Shinrikyo, meaning supreme truth, and people believed him.
つまり人間の物質的豊かさというものがピークに達して、でそこでは満足できないと人々が思い出していると。でそうなると次はどうなるかというと、内側の世界の探求に入っていくということだと思うんですね。でその時代がやっとやってきているということじゃないですか。
Not your typical cult. Aum Shinrikyo wasn't made up of dropouts and drifters. It attracted scientists, doctors, engineers, even government workers. They left behind family, careers, and stability to follow Asahara. Much of the cult's wealth came directly from its followers, who were pressured to donate their life savings, buy expensive spiritual equipment, and attend costly seminars, money that flowed freely into Aum's coffers, completely tax-exempt under its status as a religious organization. Why? Because he promised salvation. He told them the world would end in a nuclear holocaust. Only the chosen few, those who joined Aum, would survive to rebuild it. And to survive, they had to prepare. But Aum wasn't just preaching, it was building. In secret labs, cult scientists developed chemical weapons. They bought land in Australia to test explosives. They experimented with sarin gas, VX gas, anthrax, and even sought nuclear materials. They purchased a Russian helicopter, studied military-grade lasers, and hoarded weapons. They even attempted cloning and psychic warfare. It was like something out of a dystopian science fiction movie, except it was real and deadly. As Aum Shinrikyo expanded, so did its delusions and its enemies. Asahara told his followers that anyone who opposed the cult was spiritually inferior, defiled, and deserved to die. The first confirmed murder came in 1989. A lawyer named Tsutsumi Sakamoto had begun investigating Aum's illegal activities. He was outspoken. He was preparing a lawsuit. He was a threat. One night, 3 cult members broke into his home. They beat Sakamoto, his wife, and their baby son to death. Then, injected their bodies with potassium chloride and buried them in steel drums. That case remained unsolved for years, but it was just the beginning. Over time, dozens of people who spoke out against Aum, ex-members, journalists, professors, were stalked, abducted, and sometimes used in chemical experiments. Dissenters were imprisoned inside the cult's compounds, tortured, gassed, electroshocked. Inside Aum, Asahara preached that death was not punishment. It was purification. And the world outside, it had to be cleansed. Aum wasn't waiting for the apocalypse anymore. They were going to trigger it. March 20th, 1995. It was a typical Monday morning, trains packed, the city moving, nothing seemed unusual. But 5 men were already in place. Each carried a bag of liquid sarin gas, wrapped in newspaper, tucked into a sports bag. Each had a sharpened umbrella tip, modified to puncture the bag, then disappear into the crowd. They boarded trains on the Chiyoda Marunouchi, and Hibiya lines, all converging in central Tokyo. At precisely 8 a.m., each man dropped the bag, pierced it with his umbrella, and left the train. No explosion, no warning, just a puddle on the floor, and death in the air. Sarin is a nerve agent, odorless, colorless, originally developed in Nazi Germany. It is one of the most toxic substances known to man. A single droplet can kill. It works by attacking the nervous system. It blocks the enzyme that allows muscles to relax, causing the body to seize up and suffocate itself. Symptoms begin immediately. Blurred vision, convulsions, nausea, respiratory failure. The victim remains conscious but unable to breathe. Aum had produced over 80 liters of it, and now it was loose in the world's busiest subway system. At first, no one knew what was happening. Passengers began coughing violently, eyes burning, muscles locking. Some collapsed, others screamed for help, but the gas kept spreading. At Kasumigaseki Station, staff rushed to assist. They collapsed one by one, poisoned as they worked. One train operator realized something was wrong and kept driving to the next station so passengers could escape. He died later that day. Hospitals were overwhelmed. Emergency responders had no protective gear. Many were exposed simply by helping others. By the end of the day, 13 were dead and over 5,500 injured, some permanently blinded, paralyzed, or traumatized. A few survivors described feeling trapped inside their bodies, aware but unable to move or breathe. And the men who did this vanished into the city. Japan launched the largest criminal investigation in its history. Police raided dozens of Aum compounds. What they found defied belief. There were full-scale chemical labs, torture chambers, hidden prison cells, stockpiles of sarin components, and blueprints for other gas attacks. They found evidence of plans to poison Tokyo's water supply. Some documents outlined assassination plots targeting public officials. Shoko Asahara was eventually found, hiding behind a false wall inside the cult's headquarters, silent, disheveled, waiting for the end. Over 190 members were arrested. Many confessed. 13, including Asahara, were sentenced to death. He was executed by hanging in 2018. The case was closed. Tokyo subway attack was over in minutes, but its consequences echo through the decades. In its aftermath, Japan's sense of safety was shattered. This wasn't the result of war or foreign terrorism. It came from within, from fellow citizens, from doctors, engineers, and scientists. People once considered rational and educated had surrendered themselves completely to a man claiming to be divine. It forced a national reckoning. How had so many believed in something so extreme, so delusional, and so deadly? The survivors carry wounds, many of them invisible. Some never fully recovered. Others still suffer seizures, paralysis, or deep psychological trauma. Some left the country altogether, unable to step onto a train platform ever again. But perhaps the most unsettling part of the story is this. Aum never truly died. Today, it continues under a different name, Aleph. Rebranded and legally registered, Aleph remains active in Japan and parts of Russia. It publicly denies ties to terrorism, yet its members still revere Shoko Asahara. His teachings circulate. His sermons are studied. The Japanese government monitors the group closely with regular inspections and financial audits. Yet despite the scrutiny, Aleph still attracts followers. New ones. Often young people who weren't even alive when Tokyo's subway turned toxic. And that's what makes Aum Shinrikyo so terrifying. It wasn't just a cult. It was an idea, one that promised purity through obedience, salvation through suffering. It blended science with superstition, technology with theology, and used both to justify mass murder. In the end, Aum's prophecy didn't bring about the end of the world, but it revealed something darker, that even in a peaceful modern society, one man can twist reality to his will, even if it leads to death. This was Phantom Frontiers. Thanks for watching. If this story moved you, please drop a comment. We'd love to hear your thoughts. And like and subscribe for more true stories from the edge of the unknown. Until next time, keep your eyes open and your mind even more so.